Hey guys, in this video I'm going to do a build overview of the Mosquito 110. It's a very small micro quad from Tomoquads, and this is a very specialized build. So if you're a beginner builder, or this is your first build or second build or third build, probably recommend that you don't build this because it's going to require a lot of experience and understanding how these components go together. And this is also why I'm doing the video this way, because someone who has built many mini quads before will be able to see these photos and should be able to build this without any issue. So without further ado, let me go right into it. In this first photo, I start with the PDB and the ESCs. I'll have a list of all the parts in the description, as I always do, if you want to know what these are. But basically, the first step you got to do is you got to mount the PDB, which is this little mini PDB has only a 5-volt regulator on it, which is all you need for this. And then I have all the ESCs wired in this particular manner, and you should take note of how the wires are routed, because you're going to need to know that for the shield, the little 3D plastic shield that goes around the body of the quad. The power cord goes out the back, and I have this braiding on the power cord. It's not really necessary, it's just something that I wanted to do for myself. Also, you should take note of the 2 nylon standoffs that are in the back, and also you're going to use the nylon screws that go into the nylon standoffs. There's going to be 4 metal screws that are going to go into the 3D printed shield, and those are going to go into the front and the top and the bottom. So if you're wondering what screws go where, that's where those screws go. So take note of that. Here in this photo, I have the basically signal wires that go to the ESCs soldered in. So I removed the original ESC signal wires that came with the server cables from these. I think these are the XM10A ESCs, and they go to this connector here that will go into the Flip 32 Mini. And the other thing that goes into that connector, in addition to the 4 ESC signal wires, which are white, green, blue, and yellow, you'll see the red and the black, and that's the 5-volt input that powers the flight controller. And the other thing that you'll notice is that there's another connector that goes to the 5-volt output. That's over on to the right side there, sitting on top of the power cable, and that's a 1.25 millimeter JST connector, and that's what the FPV system is going to connect to and get power from. In this photo, I've got the shield actually put into place, and there's a little tray that the flight controller sits in, and I just have that stuck on there with some double-sided foam tape underneath. You need to note the orientation of this particular flight controller, because I think this model is only made for this particular flight controller and nothing else, because the USB port is pointing out the side, and there's a hole on one side of the shield where the USB port will be accessible. So here I have the connector with the ESC signal wires plugged into the back, and you have the power wires going off there. And then on the back side, you see 3 wires: a yellow, a red, and a red. Yellow, red, and a black that will go to the receiver. And the photo that's missing, that was supposed to be between this one and the last one, was actually the FPV system itself, and it's actually just the cloverleaf antenna. It's the FX758 video transmitter. It was one of those little micro video transmitters, and the Banggood 90-degree micro camera. That's the camera that you see mounted in the front. That's actually the video transmitter is actually underneath the power cable there, and I have it upside down, where there's actually some ventilation slits in the carbon fiber in that frame, in that part of the frame, and so that's where I have the video transmitter sitting. It's not mounted in any way; it just kind of sits loose under the power cable, and later on you'll see I'll have the actual antenna zip tied to another piece that's 3D printed and screwed in, so it's not going to move around. I don't know what happened to that photo. I thought I took the photo, but apparently I didn't. There's not a whole lot to it. You just have 4 wires going from the camera to the video transmitter, which is power, video, and audio, and then you have the antenna soldered onto the video transmitter, and then you have I have another power wire that comes off of the video transmitter that powers both the camera and the video transmitter that plugs into that other plug you saw in the previous photo. So that's all that is. This is pretty much the same thing as my micro FPV backpack, just with some longer wires and slightly modified. So I'll put a link in this video with a card to that video if you want to see a little more detail about how the video transmitter is actually wired together. It's actually not that complicated. Okay, so in this photo I've got the flight controller mounted in place with the extra nylon standoffs, and then so you need those standoffs that are in the back surrounding the cloverleaf antenna. That's going to provide the screw holes for the top plate that's going to go on in the back side, and you're going to use nylon screws there, and then in the front you're going to use the metal screws. Anyway, so have the actually plugged in, it's powered, you can see the lights on. I have the little receiver there plugged in to the flight controller, and at this point I'm about to close it up, and this is what it looks like with the top plate on. And make note of the metal screws in the front and the nylon screws in the back. And there's a little yellow 3D printed antenna mount. That's to hold the antenna. So the antenna is going to go there, and then you're going to wrap a zip tie around the antenna to secure so it doesn't flop around. And you can see here I have the zip tie in place. And at this point I've mounted the motors. And you can see the way I've routed the motor wires around, so it's sort of looped around backwards, and that's because the motor wires are just so short or so close to the ESC. There's just no space. That's really the only way you can do it. And then as you can see in the upper left, I have the ESC cover attached on that one arm, just to show you what it looks like. Basically, if you just bunch up all the wires, you don't have to do anything else. It'll just neatly tuck away inside the ESC cover. And here you go. It's all done. Just haven't put the props on here, but everything's screwed down. You got the ESC covers on. You have the antennas. That's actually the middle part. There's another 3D printed part that comes in the kit, and that's where the antenna wires come through. They just come through the top plate and through those little plastic pieces, and that's it. It comes out that way. Here's another photo, another angle. And here it is completed with the props on. So it's a pretty tough build. I would say out of all the builds I've done, this is probably a 10 out of 10. Just because the components are, well, they're small, and they're not the usual types. Like, for example, the flight controller. This is the first build I ever used a mini flight controller like that. Most of the ones I've done are the typical 30 by 30 millimeter flight controllers, the square ones. So you have to understand your space constraints, and you have to understand where things are going and how much wire you need, because there's really no room in there to be using a lot of connectors and pins and stuff. So you have to sort of plan ahead on how you want to do all of your wiring and how you want to place all your components, assuming your components are different from the ones I have. These are probably the best ones. Obviously, you can probably switch things out. I know for sure that this flight controller is the one that you have to get, because that fits that tray. You could get a different one and have the USB connector somewhere else. I don't know where, but if you want to do any kind of sort of configuration, you need that USB port to be accessible. I may use some different motors here in the future. These are designed for these 1104 motors and these 2535 Rotorex props. I think these are only like 4,000 kV, so I'm only going to be doing some cruising around with this guy, and I think later on I'll probably put some more put some motors on that are maybe higher kV than this one, so we'll see. Anyway, guys, the end of this video. I hope you liked it. Let me know if you have any questions about how to build this. It's a pretty complicated build, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of questions, but it's a pretty cool looking little quad. I think you guys should check it out. I'll put links to all this in the description below, including where you can get this frame. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video.